It's a multiple celebration Shabbat, celebrating Shabbat itself and the weekly opportunity to come together as a community, celebrating an Ufraf and upcoming marriage at the end of the summer, Mazel Tov. Celebrating the potential reintroduction of the Avarachmin prayer into the Temple Beth liturgy. Celebrating Torah Club and its influence on so many of the young people many of whom are no longer such young people in our community. And also celebrating graduates. And we celebrate graduates in this community. We're celebrating those who are completing 8th grade and moving on to high school, or finishing 12th grade and moving on to college. And I want to address some words to that population, although who represent that population in the room. But it's really a message for everyone. I'd like to think so, at least. When I think about what a community like ours is trying to do and inculcate within the youth of our community, formally through our curriculum at Pressman Academy of the JLC, and informally in terms of what we hope it feels like to be a youth at Temple Beth Am, 4 categories come to mind. And I'm sure there are others. These are the ones I'm thinking about now. One of the things that we have tried to do and will continue to try to do for all the youth in our community, whether you're graduating or not, is to have you associate yourself and your Judaism in this room with great fun and great joy. From the zaniness of Purim to the dancing and the candy of Simchat Torah, to just the enjoyment you have walking these halls, whether you're here as part of school or part of shul. We are trying to create a building and a community where it feels good to be you here. Because if it feels good to be you here, then you're going to search for other similar places as you get older where it will also feel good to be you. And what you've started to build here will continue. That's a primary pillar. A second pillar, which is similar but not the same, in addition to it feeling fun, we try to create a community where you also feel at home here. Home is not always fun, but home is familiar, home is safe, home is a place where you can be the fullest version of you. There are rules at home and there are rules at shul, but we're trying to create a campus here that can almost be an extension of your home and an enlargement of your home. Oftentimes people refer to the hubbub and the organic intermingling of people in a community such as this as a version of an American kibbutz. If you've spent time on a kibbutz or a moshav in Israel, there is a sense of community that is created in such a way that the people who live there don't just live in their houses. They live in the pathways of the kibbutz and the roads of the moshav, and it's as much of a home as the structure in which they live. We hope that that is some of the experience of the people who are growing up in this community and who might be graduating today. A third pillar is we're trying in this Jewish community to raise all of you to be independent, on some level to not need us so much. Any parent, any teacher, any community is trying to engineer on some level a reality in which they're needed less, not more. You don't necessarily think about that when your child is an infant, but on some level that's your goal. You love them and you're there for them so much so they need you less, not more, as they grow older. We're trying to create proud and independent and educated and well-spoken Jews who, when they go out from this community, because you're not all going to come back to us, what you have imbibed and immersed yourself in within here is going to help you be more prepared to be you out there. We want you to be independent. The fourth pillar, one which is weighing on me and weighing on so many of us much more now than in any other time in my life, as far as I can understand it, is that however independent we hope and want you to be out there, we're also preparing you for a world that is scary and that can be inhospitable to the very types of living and Jewing that we do in this building. And when you leave this building and leave this community, you're going to be exposed to many hard things in this world, and harder than it has been in our lifetimes. And some of the challenges that the youth in this community are going to face when you get out there into the real world are going to be familiar to us, and we're going to understand them, and we're going to help you navigate them as we did. And some are brand new, have not been confronted by the last few generations of American Jewry. And so even as we're hoping to raise you in this community to be independent, the fourth pillars are also committed to protecting you on every level that we can, because the world can be scary. Regarding that scary world, I want to tell you a story. There was once a boy named Yosef. He was born in Spain in the town of Toledo in 1488. And if you know a bit about Spanish history, you know what was about to happen a few years after he was born, although, of course, he did not. In 1492, when he was 4, along with nearly every other Jew who lived in Spain, who had thrived there for centuries under both Muslim and Christian rule, his family was expelled from that country, and they went from Spain to Portugal. When he was in Portugal as a young boy, his father died, and his uncle adopted him. When he was 9, his family and other Jews were expelled from Portugal. Imagine being 9 years old and having your country expelled you because you were a Jew, not once but twice. By the time he was a teenager, I would guess he understood that being Jewish could be dangerous and required a certain willingness to be itinerant and to move around, a lack of stability. And I also imagine that each time he moved to a new community, they found and helped create a Jewish community there. They found or helped create a shul and a school and people to be friendly with and people to celebrate Shabbat with and people to Jew with. From Spain to Portugal, he spent time in Morocco. He spent time in Bulgaria. He spent time in northern Greece in what we call Salonika. On the map, it's now written Thessaloniki. He spent time in Turkey. And eventually, young Yosef settled in Tzfat in northern Israel. By this time, he was an ordained rabbi and a scholar, and he sat down to write one of the most important Jewish books in history that prescribed how to live a Jewish life from the moment one wakes up in the morning to when you go to sleep. A book about birth and death and marriage, from Shabbat to Kashrut to civil law. If you haven't connected the dots, the Yosef I'm speaking about is the person we refer to as Rabbi Yosef Karo, who wrote the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, that we still refer to, religious Jews refer to every single day, to remind ourselves what it is that is required of us. In essence, the Code of Jewish Law is a law book. It's not sermonica, it's not essays, it's not poetry, it's how to observe Jewish law. But also it expresses our deepest yearnings for what it means to live as a Jew. And because it's a law book, it's fascinating to be reminded of how it begins, because it begins with something that is not replicated at any other time in the 4 sections of the book. Every other line of this book is precise behavior instruction about Jewish law. But Rabbi Yosef Karo, and I can't help but think that his choosing to begin his book this way was impacted by his experience wandering the world as a Jew kicked out from one place to another. He begins with a burst of poetry or rapture. He says, Yitgaber ka'ari la'amod baboker. One should heroically wake oneself up. Yitgaber can mean to overcome, but the root of Yitgaber is gibur. Should heroically wake oneself up, la'amod baboker, to stand in the morning, la'avodat boro, towards the service of one's Creator, shehu morer hashachar, because it is the Creator who actually brings the dawn each day. And from that point on, it's dry. Do this, say this, do this. But it begins with a wake up, with a sense of awe and grandeur that you're alive, and you're alive in a world that God created, and somehow that world makes sense, and face that day with everything you've got. This Yosef probably knew better than anyone that life was hard and life was unpredictable. Perhaps the only predictable thing is that the dawn would come and you would have an opportunity to worship God again. And he knew that it was especially hard as a Jew. And for some reason that he never wrote about his decision to begin this book this way, before talking about the details of life and how to wash your hands before eating bread and how to do the 4 cups of wine on Pesach, the first thing he said is, be a person of courage who overcomes obstacles. And not just any courage, the courage of a lion who protects with ferocity the things and the people that are dear. And not just the courage to do anything. It doesn't say wake up with the courage to be a soldier. Wake up with the courage to get up and serve the world and serve God. To do what needs to be doing. In a commentary on this passage written by Rabbi Eliezer Melamed in his collection called Pninei Halacha, the Pearls of Halacha, he says, if you have a yehud means a purpose. You might know the noun ya'ad means a destination. I remember when I learned the word ya'ad, when you are on an El Al flight and it tells you how many hours you have until your destination. In the Hebrew, it's to your ya'ad. If you have a destination, a point, a purpose, he says it's easy to get up in the morning. If you don't have a yehud, it is very hard to get up in the morning. To all in this room who are finishing something, graduating 8th grade, graduating 12th grade, it's clear what you're finishing. What I want to ask you deep inside your neshamas, for you to answer only for yourself, is what are you starting? And I don't just mean a new school. I don't just mean college. What's your yehud? What is your purpose that gets you up in the morning? And particularly, what is your yehud as a Yehud? What is your purpose as a Jew? Is it a deeper focus on prayer and spirituality? Deeper focus on study and understanding our tradition? A deeper focus on the people and the land of it, the state of Israel? Is it a deeper focus on tikkun olam and helping repair and perfect this world using our tradition? Or any of the hundreds of other ways you might have a yehud as a Yehud? I encourage you to think about as you take these next steps into the next place of your life, to remember Rabbi Yosef Karo, remember his exhortation after all this wandering, to choose each day as a day to be triumphant. And when life gets hard out there as a Yehud, and it will, I want you to think about all the love there is in this room and in this community for all of you. We cannot protect you from every challenge out there. We hope we prepared you well for them, and we can love you and support you and tell you that we believe in you, and we'll be watching with pride as you take your next steps forward toward that Yehud. The graduates are one category of youth in our community. It's a subset of all the people who are still living in their homes, still being raised as members of their family and being raised as Jews. And I want to say a word about the youth in general as we transition to the next part of this presentation. It's still hard for me to believe, both as a rabbi of this community and as a dear friend, that we're commemorating anything in memory of Judy Weinstock, because it's hard for me to believe that she's not here. Over 3 years after she passed away, after a brutal battle with cancer, thanks to the generosity of the Weinstock family, we're commemorating something in perpetuity that will uplift and celebrate the youth in our community who definitely live with a Yehud as a Yehud. Most people love their own children. Not everyone loves other people's children. And certainly not everyone loves other people's children the way Judy did. I have such tender memories that began as a family friend to our family and then extended to my understanding of what she did before I got to Beth Am for the youth of this community. How profoundly Judy loved the children of her world. Not just the ones that she gave birth to, but the ones that she felt responsible to. And nearly all of her leadership in the years that she served Temple Beth Am in formal capacities was focused on building the very type of moshav/kibbutz/incubator culture that I discussed before, so that if you were a youth in this community, because of her leadership, you were getting rich substance, and you had a place to be that was an extension of your home, and you were being educated to be proud of your Judaism, and you were deeply loved. She would have patience to play with my children when they were toddlers much longer than sometimes I had patience for. She kept all of the children's toys and books from her children's childhood so that if you came to her home and you had a young one, there was something for them to be doing, to be occupied by. And she focused on specifics. She would remember things about what my children said and did that had long escaped my memory, because she was so intent in seeing children as they were, for who they were, and what drove them, and what motivated them, and what was important to them. And she is profoundly and sorely missed in my life, and in the life of my family, and in this community. But her impact persists, and because of the award that we're inaugurating today, and that we hopefully will give out every year, her impact can continue to grow as well. So we say of Judy, Yehi Zechra Baruch, may her memory be a great blessing to all of us, and may we be inspired by her model for raising up in our consciousness the youngest amongst us, who will lead us far after we are relevant, and therefore who rely on us even though they don't know they're relying on us, to prepare them properly with substance and with dedication and with love. Rabbi Shapiro.
Yashikach, Rabbi Kligfeld, and it is an honor to be here with all of you today as we offer this award to two outstanding leaders in our youth and teen community. So we're going to be giving our award to two graduating seniors. First, I'm going to, where'd you go? First, I'm going to invite up Reut Sklar, our Director of Youth and Teens here, to say a few words and give our first award.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I have the great privilege of offering the award up to a fabulous teen that I've known since she was a child, Ruthie Pottybaum. Ruthie has been an active and integral part of the Temple Beth Am youth community since she was in elementary school. From her first youth department event, she was hooked. Ruthie was at every event excited and eager to have fun with her friends. And as a teen, Ruthie grew into a leader that was passionate about being a part of this Jewish community and also growing our Jewish community as part of USY. Ruthie became involved in USY as a teen and was elected Far West USY President 2023-2024, which she just concluded, for which we were all so proud. Ruthie, it's been a privilege seeing you shine each year. I love your passion and eagerness to make our teen community better, and I can't wait to see all that you accomplish once you get to college. Thank you for your commitment to our community, and thank you for spending Tuesday nights with me at Lounge, playing games and laughing and snacking on pizza and candy. I'm really, really going to miss those nights with you. Congratulations on this honor, well deserved, and I'm going to miss you. Ruthie, come on up.
Yeah, I want to talk to you. Mazel tov, Ruthie. Mazel tov to the Pottybaum family. Our second honoree, I'm going to call up, it says on here, Jonathan Staff, which is funny because whenever I call him Jonathan, he makes a funny face at me and says I should be calling him JJ. So, JJ. I don't know what you remember about the process of becoming a bar mitzvah here at Temple Beth Am. I know it was a long time ago. What I remember very clearly about that process was when you would be sitting up on the couches, up on the 3rd floor, and I would walk by you and kibitz with you and generally goof around with you. And I hope that that improved even more your wonderful experience in the bar mitzvah journey here at Temple Beth Am. And that was my very first year working here full time, 6 years ago. And over the past 6 years, it was always clear to me that you are a natural leader. And what's been remarkable over the past 6 years is to see how you have grown into those abilities as someone who people like being around, enjoy having as a friend, appreciate as someone who's a presence in community, whether that's in our Shabbat group or when you help out at the Shabbaton or at Camp Keshet or any of the other opportunities you've taken up here to be present with our youth and with your friends. I think it's a true mark as a parent to know that someone is a true leader when you feel good about having that person watch your kids. And you've watched my kids, whether at camp or at the Shabbaton, multiple times, and you've shared with me some interesting stories about them, and that's wonderful. But what I know whenever you're helping to take care of my kids is that they're in good hands. And I think that that's a true mark of what someone who's a leader and a person of integrity can be. And I'm going to say one more thing that's really going to embarrass you, which is there's a modest stipend as a part of this award. And I called you to tell you that you were getting this award, and I told you about Shabbat morning, and I told you about the stipend. And within less than an hour, you had messaged me back saying that you wanted to make sure that half of it went to tzedakah, a tzedakah of my choosing. And I thought that that was beautiful. And I was talking to your mom, and you know, what high school senior doesn't want a stipend of some kind? And so I figured, you know, maybe he got a little nudge from a parent, which is lovely. There's no judgment there, right? And what Vanessa said was, actually, it's the other way around. He wanted to donate all of it. And we told him he should keep half. And so I'm saying that not just to embarrass you, although I promise I'll stop talking soon. You're doing great. Leadership isn't just about what you do in the world for other people. It's also about having your insides match your outsides. And I already knew that you did that. I already knew that you had that integrity. And to have that moment where you embodied that so fully reminds me, and I hope can illuminate to all of us, that we are blessed to have had you as a leader here in our community. I hope you feel that you have grown in a community that loves and supports you in all the ways that you have needed to grow and had the opportunity to grow. And we know that you will go on to be a blessing in the world, and we're so excited to see where you go from here. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov to Ruthie and JJ, and thank you to the Weinstock family for choosing to commemorate Judy's legacy in this way. Our inaugural recipients of the Judith Weinstock Youth Leadership Award at Temple Beth Am, and we look forward to many years of these kinds of gatherings and bestowing this honor upon worthy successors to Ruthie and to JJ.